Today, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. So, what is it? It is a persistent and often irrational feeling of being an imposter and not deserving of your accomplishments, despite objective evidence of your skills and success. This particularly affects professionals, students, and even parents. But what can cause this feeling? Bad past experiences, for example, where you may have been devalued by other people, cultural and social pressures that can give us the impression that we're never trying hard enough, that what we're doing is never good enough. The perfectionism that we can have naturally, which means that we're never fully satisfied with what we do. Comparing yourself with high performing people. It is certain that if you start a new job or you are a young parent and you compare yourself to other people who have experience, who are doing better, that can lead you to devalue yourself when in fact you only have an external image. You don't see all of the efforts that they had to make, all the experiences that they had to live through. And it can also come from personality traits such as neurosis or very pronounced self criticism. So, how does it feel to have imposter syndrome? To summarize, we come to doubt ourselves, our own abilities. You feel like you don't deserve your job, for example. You feel like you're lying to your colleagues. Because if your colleagues tell you, wow, what you did there is great, the proposal you made is truly unique, no matter what the compliment actually is, you feel like you don't deserve it. You feel like a fraud, which also adds a feeling of guilt. Since you doubt yourself and your abilities, you have the impression that your professional development is not due to your own skills, but only to a stroke of luck or to external help. So you will inevitably want to push yourself even more, become even more of a perfectionist. You may even end up sacrificing your well being to work more, which will inevitably end in overwork at some point or another because you don't feel good enough no matter what you do. It can also lead to isolation because you are afraid that someone will discover your secret. Because we say to ourselves, if people are too close to me, they will realize that in fact the image they have of me is biased, that I am not as deserving as they thought, that I don't have the skills attributed to me. So, fear of not being up to the task, obviously. And as a result, we will sabotage our own chances of success because we will have a tendency to step aside so that another colleague can take our place because we believe that this colleague has much more merit than us, rightly or wrongly, but in any case, we don't even give ourselves the chance to try because we are too demanding of ourselves. We have a great lack of self esteem and we are so afraid of failure that we prefer not to even try. So obviously, it increases the level of anxiety because we have the impression of having to hide all the time, of having to pretend. We have the impression that our team does not believe in us, or on the contrary, that they believe in a false image of us, which means that really we will try to fade away, and in the end we will stifle our own creativity and everything that makes us unique. We'll try to fit into a sort of societal mold, saying to ourselves, I absolutely have to fit in because otherwise it means I'm worthless. So, how to escape imposter syndrome? It's easier said than done because it's something really psychological and unconscious. Even when we know that we suffer from this syndrome, when we realize it or when someone helps us to realize it, it is so anchored in us that breaking away from it is something very difficult. It's not impossible, but it will take a lot of effort. But it's worth it because once you have regained confidence in yourself, in your abilities, you will inevitably be much happier, much more productive, more creative. You will simply be yourself. So, what to do? To begin with, you should only rely on facts, numbers, for examples. If you work in a company, it could be performance, quota, turnover. These are concrete things where there is no human side in them and which, therefore, cannot be biased and whose existence and truthfulness you cannot deny. You can obviously talk to other people about your thinking to get support. Of course, it's not so that the person praises you even more by telling you, but look, you're not an imposter. Look at everything you've done so far. Because in the end, you will fall back into the same pattern. You are not going to believe this person because for you, their judgment is biased. So, what you actually need is support that is as objective as possible so that you can't make excuses. So, this will help you reframe your thoughts. What you can also do is find a mentor, perhaps take an example from certain colleagues who will have confidence in themselves. You can ask for clarification on the task to be carried out so that, like this, you have all the steps of what needs to be done. So you're going to do them, and you won't be able to tell yourself that you succeeded thanks to a stroke of luck. No, you will have succeeded because, of course, you will have been told what to do, but also because you have the skills to complete everything on your own. So it's a process during which you should definitely not isolate yourself. You have to keep in touch with your colleagues because, in fact, you need others to realize your own value. So, yes, it's a bit paradoxical. You shouldn't spend your time comparing yourself to others because it's very unhealthy. But, nevertheless, not comparing yourself to anyone is not good either. Basically, you have to find a happy medium so that others allow you to see your own value, so that you don't underestimate yourself, but so that you don't overestimate yourself either. In any case, you need to discover your true limits. And to escape imposter syndrome, you can also delegate more, ask for help, because given that you tend to sacrifice yourself, to overwork yourself, if you delegate, you will be able to give more energy to a single specific task. It will also help you to breathe, to take a step back. As I said at the beginning, imposter syndrome doesn't just affect the word of work. It also works, for example, when you are a student and you compare your results with those of others. There are students who have more or less ease. To give a concrete example, if you are a student who has natural learning or understanding abilities, a great memory, you may feel like an imposter if you get very good grades when you didn't put much effort into revising, while one of your classmates worked for hours and got lower grades than you. You may end up saying to yourself that in fact, this person is much more deserving than you because they are working to succeed, while you feel like you have done nothing to deserve a good grade. You may think it's unfair for them, whereas, yes, it's just that everyone is different. Everyone has a different way of assimilating knowledge, has their own natural abilities, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is why comparing yourself is not always a good thing, because if you really have to compare yourself, you have to do it well. So you have to compare yourself with someone who has the same abilities as you, the same skills, someone who is at your level. Otherwise, there's no point. And it's the same for parents who may have the impression of not doing enough, or, on the contrary, of doing too much. You can see parents who will manage a crisis of their child in 10 seconds, but when you try all the techniques you know, your child continues to whine for half an hour. Obviously, you're going to feel like crap. You will tell yourself that, in fact, this parent is incredible while you cannot manage your child. In this case, what you forget is the factor external to yourself. That is to say, the child. You can have the best intentions in the world, good experience, have asked for advice, have natural abilities to calm a child. The fact remains that a child is another person, and if he's not decided to listen to you to calm down for this or for that reason, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's your fault and that you're a bad parent. Just like conversely, you can feel like an imposter and say to yourself, well, I'm lucky because I have a golden child. He never cries, he never throws tantrums. I have a friend of mine who is struggling and she asked me for advice, but I don't know what to tell her because I feel like I'm not doing anything special. Well, once again, it was your natural abilities that took over. That is to say that, to compare, you have to see the behavior of the children. If you have a child who is very calm, but your friend has a little monster, obviously it will not require the same abilities and skills as a parent. And what's more, you may have natural abilities that the other person doesn't have. You can have great patience, great empathy, for example, while your friend does not have any. Obviously, it plays a huge role, but you don't realize it because you can't get an outside point of view of yourself. So, once again, you will say to yourself, but no, it's just that I'm lucky because my child is calm, it has nothing to do with me. Yes, maybe there is a part of his personality that makes him like that, but there is also his upbringing that played a role. Unconsciously, you instilled values in him too. So, this is your personal success. There's no imposture in it. It's just you as you are. And in fact, that's it. To truly escape imposter syndrome, you have to accept that you are capable of achieving things on your own, that you have abilities, skills, and that you deserve the compliments that people give you. It's very hard to receive compliments because I think it's something we're not necessarily used to. You may feel embarrassed about it, maybe even think that the person is not complimenting you for free, but because they expect something from you in return. You have to be able to tell yourself that, in fact, whether you agree with the compliment or not, you have to accept it and make it your own. You have to feel gratitude and use it to continue to be yourself and succeed naturally.